Hi Lisa, really excited to be sat this side of the table because you're normally the one doing the interviewing, so this is really nice for me. So first of all, a huge congratulations. You're now an Executive Director of MBH. And you had your own unique journey to get to that point. So share with us all about your journey and how you became an Executive Director at MBH.
Yeah, of course. First things first, I'm obviously delighted to be on the MBH board. So it's a very exciting journey for me. But it all began when I was Managing Director of the Black United Representation Network. We were running an initiative called Board Apprentice, where we would place black professionals with senior management experience on boards for 12 months. So they got to shadow a board and gain incredible experience, something they would not have had access to before. And my journey was quite interesting because it was actually somebody else who was meant to be on the MBH board, but that didn't happen. And so I kind of just took a chance. I think I actually just thought, should I send you an email? So I sent you an email saying, is there any chance you'd consider me as your board apprentice? And yeah, you came back and said you definitely would. I had a meeting with Callum and it kind of went from there really. And it's been a really, really interesting journey for me. I think one of the things that's been most interesting was when I started as a board apprentice, I was actually doing my MSc. Right. And I'd been on my MSc, I think, since the January. I started with MBH in May of 2021. And I found that within, I think about 4 to 8 weeks, I'd learnt more as a board apprentice than I did on my MSc. I'm not going to say who the MSc was with because I might get in trouble. But yeah, so I found that actually having that insight at board level, I learnt an incredible amount. And one of the other interesting things was that I've actually been able to apply it to my life personally as well as professionally. I've used quite a lot of the knowledge I've picked up from Callum and from Victor in terms of my own personal finances, so which has been really interesting. But I think for me, it's just a fantastic opportunity to kind of gain experience in an area that I'd never had the opportunity to gain experience in before. And I think what's fantastic is it's opening doors and then getting a seat at the table for people who've been denied those opportunities for far too long. And the thing I really like about MBH is it's an organisation that is focused on people. Probably more so than it is on profit, and that's not to say that profit isn't important. It is, but I think in today's world, especially with what's been going on over the last 2.5 years, I think a focus on people is key. I think, we're only going to get through all the trials and tribulations that we're going through together as a team, and I really like the fact that MBH cares about people just as much, if not more so, than it does about profit. I think that's really important in today's world. So yeah, for me, it's been a fantastic journey so far.
Brilliant. And, you're right, thinking about how we align with the UN global goals and reduced inequalities, the Board Apprentice programme was all part of that. Yeah. But why do you think the board, programmes like the Board Apprentice programme, organisations like Burn, why do you think they are so important? Why do we do these things? How is it going to make a difference?
I think they're important because the sad reality is inequality still exists. We don't live in a world where all people are equal and treated as such, and until such time that we do, you do need organisations like Burn and many other organisations. I've always believed that whoever you are or whoever you choose to be, you should be able to be that in whichever space you choose to occupy. Sadly, that's still not the case, so you do need organisations like Burn to champion people from marginalised groups.
And, MBH has got a 50% female board representation commitment, yes, which is great because that's us. But what does success look like for you in terms of reducing inequalities? If you were to say, this is the goal, this is where I want to be, and this is the legacy I want MBH to leave, what does success look like for you?
I think success for me is simply everybody able to live their lives as equals in whichever way they choose to do so, and living in a world where people have enough. We in this country alone, you have over 1 million children who don't get a decent meal on a daily basis. That is not, and we're the fifth or sixth richest economy in the world. I don't believe that's the way the world should be. And for me, what I'd really like to see is, one day, many years from now, when you and I are no longer here, I'd like to think that the world is a fairer place and that everybody can live equally. They don't have to worry about having shelter, having food, having clothes on their back, having enough finances to pay their bills. I think that's what I'd like. That's what success looks like for me. It's not just a case of, my mum always says, when you have a skill or an ability or experience, you shouldn't just use it for the good of yourself, you should use it for others. And that's all I'd like to see.
And as a board apprentice, you would have got time to observe. You would have had a lot of time to observe. So how have you seen equality throughout the businesses? You know, what kind of things have stood out to you to go, you know, because you did say, you know, MBH is about people. So
Yeah.
what have you seen that makes you feel that?
I think the biggest thing I've seen is that a lot of people talk, far less people do. And I think the fantastic thing about MBH is they're actually putting their money where their mouth is. You know, I'm a big believer that change happens at the point of action. And the fantastic thing about MBH and the companies within MBH is they're actually taking action to make a difference. And ultimately, that's what matters. You know, I can sit here and talk till the cows come home, but if I don't do anything, then it doesn't mean anything and it doesn't help anyone. So I think the biggest thing for me has been actually to see an organisation and organisations as a whole who aren't just saying they're going to do something, they're very intentional and actually doing something, which I think is fantastic.
And I think it's a small and medium business mindset, actually. I think they are very community-centric. Well, thank you so much for your time. You're absolutely amazing. You're adding massive value to MBH, so I'm so happy to be working together. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Lisa.